Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of our legislative interview series. I'm Kevin Scorsone, the Director of Government Affairs at RRAR. Joining me today is Kristin Nash, the Director of Political Fundraising at NCR. Kristin, thank you for joining us. I appreciate it.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I feel very honored to be here today.
Yeah, our last episode of 2023.
What a great way to end it.
Yeah, for sure.
RPAC.
Exactly. So before we get into some pointed questions, I wanted to give you the opportunity to talk a little bit about your role at NCR, how you got to where you are at NCR, and just let the people know a little bit about you.
Sure. Well, how I got to NCR is actually an interesting story. After I graduated from Appalachian State, I got a job that some people may or may not remember at a place called Office Systems, which is now I think, actually it changed names quite a few times, and I think now it's actually CoreLogic, but it was Market Links before that. Anyways, it was an MLS company, and that's how I actually got the intro into the first job I worked at NC Realtors, which was actually the partner program. So some people may not know, but I've been with NC Realtors since 2007, and I was hired originally as a marketing specialist. And I managed the advertising in Insight Magazine, and I actually managed our benefits program for the Realtor Partner program. So from then, I moved on, and I actually moved from doing the advertising and Insight to managing just the Realtor Partner program because it was taking off and providing such great, opportunities for our members to save money and also increase revenues for the local associations and our state association. I worked on that for a few years, and then those that may remember Mary Catherine Green, who worked in the RPAC in my position, that was my predecessor. She decided that she was going to leave NC Realtors, and the job was open for the RPAC position, and I kind of lobbied myself to our lobbyist, ironically, Katie Thomas, on why I would be good for this position. And so she, coming from not a political background at all, but I did have the experience of, marketing the Realtor Partner program. I already was, within the organization. Lots of people already knew who I was, which I think was a plus, but she took a chance on me. And I've been here since 2011 doing RPAC, and I have truly enjoyed it. And I've just, never saw myself as a political person or would be in politics. But, it's like a lot of those people, once you get into it, it's hard to leave.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a great story. And I guess a question that I'm interested in, without having that political background and experience, what was it like building relationships with elected officials? And now that you've done that for many years, how important is that for RPAC to be successful?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, in the beginning of my job, I did a lot more with elected officials face to face. I went to a lot more fundraisers and things. But as the RPAC role changed a little bit and we needed to raise more money, I got put kind of behind the scenes on more of the fundraising level. And so that's why you see me a lot at the fundraising events for our members versus fundraising events for our elected officials. However, I will say, I do think that it is so important to build those relationships with those elected officials because if we don't have those relationships, then it's harder for us to get our message across. Just because, if you think about elected officials in office, how many of those are realtors? We have a few in there, but not the majority of our elected officials. I mean, I'm talking at the local, state, and federal level, are realtors. So when these issues come up, when we're in session and we have bills that come up and they possibly have legislation that would affect the real estate in a bad way, it's up to us to tell them, hey, this bill that you're working on passing, this would actually negatively affect the real estate market, and this is how. And if you already have those relationships built with your elected officials, they will listen to you. Just like you build trust with your friends and family, if you know somebody elected official on that level and know them, and they will trust you in your response and say, hey, this is not going to be good for the real estate market. This is how it will affect my commission, or this is how it will affect the home buyer. It's easier for us to get our message across to those legislators when harmful legislation is being proposed.
Sure thing. What is your message in terms of talking to members and saying this is why you should contribute to the PAC. Basically, the importance of contributing to the PAC, because I don't think everybody recognizes it at first, or they're just totally unaware that there is a PAC. So how do you get that message to them?
Absolutely. Well, there's lots of reasons, obviously, coming from a person that manages the PAC, that I think members should be a part of North Carolina RPAC. But in a short answer, stop legislation that would increase your taxes, prevent new burdensome regulations on your business, making sure the real estate industry in North Carolina stays profitable, protecting private property rights, and protecting the American dream of homeownership. I'm not a realtor, but I'm confident enough here to say that I know realtors are busy, and taking that time, so likely they don't have the time to lobby, their legislators every day, or know the legislation that's coming down, the pipeline that may or may not affect them. They don't have time to read, bills on legislation that might affect their business or their industry. And that's one of the great benefits about RPAC, is that we do all of that for members. We have a team, we have lobbyists, we have people working around the clock to, do things and make sure that that harmful legislation is not being proposed. And I know we talk a lot about, doomsday in RPAC world, we don't want these things to happen to you, but I think what we miss talking about a lot of times is some of the great things that we also do to help impact the real estate economy and for realtors, and making and doing good things, actually proposing new legislation that would help in private property and a realtor's business. And for example, I know a big win this year was the privileged license tax. And just right there, that's saving a realtor $50 a year, because you won't have to renew that license to do business in North Carolina. So starting in 2024, that's a savings right there of $50 a year that our realtors will not have to pay anymore. So that's just an example of something good that we, went after. It's not all the time. I know they come after us for tax on services and, things like that, especially when they're doing budget. But that's just a great way to show we do obviously do, good things too, instead of just, fighting all the bad things all the time.
Yeah, definitely. I was curious to hear a little bit about the PAC in 2023. I think it's been an odd year in terms of the up and down housing market, also the economy being not as great as some would like it to be. So how has 2023 been navigating the PAC, and are you happy with where the PAC is at this point to close out the year?
Absolutely. It has been a challenging year, and we just have to remember that's that's real estate. It's going to have its ups and downs, and we just have to ride with it as it goes. And honestly, I'm super proud of where North Carolina has ended up this year. I know we just had our deadline on December 1st, and we're still tallying up some numbers, but I think we got to about 90% of our $1.5 million goal. So we raised a little over 1.3 million, and that is including a little over $100,000 in soft dollars. So not just the hard dollars that come from RPAC. But we had honestly a great number of major investors this year. I think we're going to end our year with over 470, and we only had around 430 last year. So we've seen an uptick in major investors, which is a great thing. We also had 69 President Circle members this year, which is, I don't think it's the most we've ever had, but it's slightly under what we had last year. And then for our participation, we did struggle a little bit this year. Last year, we had a great participation number. We actually hit 36% participation and got our Triple Crown goal for that. And obviously, once you hit a goal, it's going to go up the next year. So our goal was 37% for this year. And we're ending the year at a little over 30%. So we did have a drop off in participation this year. And, overall, I think those numbers are great. 1.3 million more major investors, great number of President Circle members, exceeded our goal. We had a goal of 55 President Circle members and got 69. And then, for a 30% participation, I think that's where we were averaging before last year. So I think we've just, it's just been a reflection of where we are in the market and where we are. It's been, like you said, it's been a weird year, but, one of the things that we do is just kind of go with the curve and go with the flow on what's happening. And we understand, that everything is going on right now. And, we just appreciate all the investments that we've received this year, and they're still going to make a huge impact on elections and things to come in the future. So every little bit helps.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And those are great numbers. I guess to my final question, and sort of in correlation with what you just said there at the end, how do you feel realtor voices are being heard at the state level? Are you optimistic about the future for realtors in North Carolina? And what's your overall take on that?
I think they're definitely being heard. And one of the things I like to tell people in terms of getting involved is, if not now, then when? And if not who? If not us, then who? Who is going to do this? And so I understand if, RPAC isn't for everyone, but there are other things that you can do to get out there and get involved and make your voice heard. Like we talked about, getting to know your elected officials. We also have our legislative meetings that are going to be in June next year, June 3rd through 5th in Raleigh. And we encourage all realtors to come out and support us in that. It is a great opportunity to get to go over and meet your elected officials, at least at the state level. And, any issues that are on the horizon or being talked about at that point, it gives you the opportunity to go in and see them face to face. And network with them and talk to them about why these issues are important to us. And also, I would say, get to know your trustees. I really encourage local associations and all members to get to know your regional trustees. There's 2 per region. And so those are your voices at the table when decisions are being made. So since we're approaching a funding year next year, I would say, make sure your members know who those people are. Invite them, I know, I'm sure you do, to come to, your meetings, anything where, you have members that want to express a certain, favoritism towards a legislator or somebody that's running and they need our support. Another thing we do is get realtors elected. RPAC funds go to help realtor-friendly candidates, but also one of our main things is to get realtors in office, because, like I said, realtors know the business better than anybody. And so if we have that interest, from members wanting to serve in office, they're going to be a great representation for us and hear us on so many levels. And so, get involved, help shape your community, or someone else will. And those are some great ways to stay involved without, obviously supporting RPAC at the $15 level is wonderful. But if, there are other opportunities to get out there and make your voice heard on the state level.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for answering all my questions. First off, I think you were able to provide a great insight into what RPAC does, what you do, and the work that gets done every day behind the scenes for our members, which is great. So with that, I hope you have a wonderful holiday, you and your family, and thank you so much for doing this.
You as well. Thank you so much again.
All right. Thank you.